time for those 2023 New Year resolutions and tasks and goals and things we hope to accomplish with the coming of a new year. And we are here at the Atlanta News First Plus Digital Desk, this edition of Money Talk, and we are happy to be joined this afternoon by a very festively dressed wealth management advisor at Northwestern Mutual, Justin Neal. Justin, love the bow tie, love the sweater, very in keeping with the holiday season. But talk with us a little bit about how our viewers and listeners can set and keep those 2023 resolutions. Sometimes things go out the window only a couple of weeks into the new year. So how can we maintain our financial discipline, so to speak?
Tim, that is a fun question to ask, although it can always be challenging. People hear resolutions and budgets and discipline, and they all want to end the call with their financial advisor. They're like, that sounds boring and terrible. And so rather than starting out by talking about all the tools and techniques, I want to start with what I think creates a successful formula for any of your New Year's resolutions, and that's to focus on your beliefs and your behaviors. So rather than thinking about tools and techniques, if we have belief and confidence in what we want and we see alignment between what we believe about something and how we're going to have success through it, that is much more correlated with us executing on a plan and having behaviors that then manifest a path from our beliefs to that picture of success. That's how we're going to win with all of our New Year's resolutions. Right? The tools and techniques are, I'm going to get in shape. So I read a book on how I can run faster, or I can run farther, or how I can lift more weight, or I'm studying the technique of how I can do that, and eventually the technique isn't interesting anymore. And that's because I haven't implanted the belief in me that a healthy life has a connection to my joy, to my experience with my kids, my grandchildren, enriching relationships. And so building that belief and confidence is what's so important, that then produces the energy and the motivation that is manifest in the behaviors that we need. And behaviors are all about habit formation and habit destruction. So I'll give you a quick example, Tim. If you believe that education is important and valuable, and you have a child, and you think, I really want to make sure they can get educated, and I want to be a financial partner because my belief is this is a big deal, then I can create a behavior that, through a habit that gets formed, and that habit formation might be, I'm going to open a 529 plan and put some money in there every month, and I'm going to automate that. Or I might open a regular investment account and automate that, or a savings account, or I-bonds. Or it doesn't matter as much what my action is. The most important thing is I start with something that I believe in, that connects to my beliefs, and a behavior, a habit that can put that in motion. And so there's lots of different ways that you can think through that, but that would be my core focus, Tim, is I want to understand, what do you believe about money? What do you believe success looks like with money? And let's focus on those and build a habit, a behavior that's incremental, but it's aligned. And as you experience success with that, it will create a positive circle of momentum.
So really, a lot of New Year's resolutions, and I know I've had plenty in the past, that I'm going to learn a new language, or I'm going to go to the gym more, or get up at some unearthly hour to go to the gym and start my day off, and then I'm exhausted by 1 p.m. and really want to go home. Now, what it sounds like what you're saying is, if you actually incorporate some of your goals and resolutions into your overall beliefs, that is much easier to maintain that discipline throughout the year. Am I understanding you correctly?
Absolutely. I read a really fascinating book called Tiny Habits. And the gentleman who wrote the book, who's a professor, speaks to how do you form successful habits. And he says there's a little acronym that you can use. He talks about motivation, ability, and prompt. And he talks about build a tiny habit. So I focused in my first thought to you, Tim, on motivation. We need high degrees of motivation. That this is a belief. This is a core thing to us that is aligned with our success. That's that motivation. I need strong motivation. But the second thing is I need ability. And if getting up at 5 a.m. is way outside my normal routine, I'm probably do not have the ability to sustain that over months and years, right? That's really challenging. So I need to pick something I have the ability to accomplish. And he has this funny little way he talks about it. He says, if you're not in the habit of brushing your teeth, then start by brushing one tooth. He said, just brush one. And he said, if you've got motivation because you know it will take good care of your teeth, well, brush one tooth. Okay? And if we've translated that financially, I'd say save $5 this month. Turn on an automatic payroll deduct and put $5 into something that is aligned with your beliefs. And the third thing he says is you need a prompt. So you need something that is automated in your life that you do regularly that is going to trigger you to take this action. So, for example, one of the other tiny habits he suggests, and it's kind of a fun one, he says, do 2 push-ups, but do 2 push-ups every time you go to the bathroom. So that's the prompt. It's like every day I have to do this thing. Therefore, it prompts me to do the 2 push-ups. So by the end of the day, he says, if you drink all the water you're supposed to, you probably stacked up 30 push-ups. And it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't disruptive. It wasn't wildly challenging. And you might find that that habit, that tiny habit, gets formed, it sticks, and it creates that cycle of positive momentum so that you do that and you stack something a little bit more on top of that. So that's that motivation, ability, and then prompt. And so, for example, real quickly, Tim, in our business, we are trying to serve as the prompt to our clients. And that's one of the advantages of working with an advisor is we are going to insert a prompt system into our clients' lives where we're proactively saying a few times a year, we need to talk about your financial situation. And we can help catalyze that prompt component where we trigger your beliefs and your abilities. How much money can you set aside towards that which is aligned with your goals? And we become part of your prompt system to build those positive, healthy, sustaining habits, that behavior that creates that positive cycle of momentum.
So when a client comes to you and you're talking about incorporating behaviors and beliefs into an overall financial plan, what are some of the questions you're going to ask in terms of what are your own personal financial beliefs? How does someone determine what their financial beliefs or behavioral patterns are outside of just setting a monthly budget and I'm going to spend $200 on groceries or buy a new car to save on public transportation or vice versa? How do you go about determining those beliefs?
I think a thoughtful advisory conversation, whether it's with an advisor or if you're just having that conversation with your partner, however you're going to address it, the key questions, and I love this part of a conversation with someone we're meeting, is tell me who you love. That usually taps into a motivation and a belief that it is compelling enough that people are willing to alter their behaviors in order to make success more real for those people. So we start with, tell me who you love. Is it yourself in a healthy way? Do you love yourself enough that you want to have freedom from the necessity of work one day? Do you love yourself enough to be willing to set money aside to accomplish educational or life experience goals for yourself? Do you have a partner you love? Do you have children that you love? Do you have parents, siblings, friends who feel like family that you love deeply? Tell us about who those people are. And as you start hearing that, whether it's with a partner, whether it's in your own reflective time, or whether it's in a conversation with an advisor, that discussion of who you love will probably bring forth the things you want for those people. What does success mean to you in your relationship with your partner, with your children, with your parents, with your friends? And as we understand who you love, what you are wanting to accomplish for them, that gives us the list of things you believe about life. And then we can help map your dollars and your financial behaviors towards that goal of success for those people that you love.
We are talking with Justin Neal, a wealth management advisor at Northwestern Mutual on this edition of Money Talk. Justin, share with us some of the most successful habits that you have seen clients employ in your experience that others can perhaps look at and or either copy or adapt. What are some of these habits that really lead to solid long-term financial success, and also on a short-term basis, just keeping those New Year's 2023 financial resolutions?
Yeah, those can be weighty processes to put in place. They can be very meaningful. And so the habits that I like are anything that we can do to automate and take the thinking and emotion out of the decision. You may relate to this a little bit, Tim. I know I do in my life, that the things that require me to sit down every month and make a decision actively, those things are harder to follow through on. And not because I don't know the value of them. I mean, I'm a big financial bow tie wearing nerd, for crying out loud, right? This is what I do. But even in my own personal planning and with my wife and with our children, so I'm very clear on this is what matters. If I don't automate it, it oftentimes slips off my radar screen into the busyness of life. And so when we can create automation into your financial life, whether that's a monthly, quarterly, annual decision rhythm, that rhythm is highly correlated with great success. And that is part of that whole conversation, that note I made on prompts. Finding prompts and automating prompts is so important in great habit creation. And again, that's where having an advisory relationship can, for many of our busiest successful clients, they love that we are going to proactively ask, when are you and your family most comfortable having a discussion about financial topics? End of the year, tax time, you get a little bonus every year. Do you have some kind of stock plan that is associated with your employer? When does it vest? And let's time our discussions in alignment with that. So we are showing up just as your ability, right? Remember our whole motivation ability prompt. I'll be the prompt when you have the ability and capacity to make changes that are going to be great habits in alignment with the beliefs of who you love and what you want for them.
I was reading an article before our conversation today from one of the Northwestern Mutual advisors, someone who is online on the website. She was talking about or writing about how 2023 or New Year's resolutions should really start with intentions, how you create an intention. Talk with us a little bit about what that concept entails, creating a financial intention. I intend to save $20,000 next year and contribute it to savings. Is that what we're talking about when we talk about financial intentions?
Absolutely. I think it is the intentionality that we want families to bring into their financial discussions, whether that's internally or with your advisor. It's create that intentional roadmap. I've identified my beliefs. I know what behaviors I need based on those beliefs. So if that becomes, Tim, as we manifest those beliefs in the form of goals, and we say, okay, I'm highly motivated to have X amount of dollars set aside for my children's education. Great. And we believe that that's within your ability to accomplish. It's not going to be some daunting, crazy objective. Great. Now let's back into intentionally, what is the objective we need to set? And what's the timeline that's realistic? So we get into much more practical components to that process. How much, when, what's a reasonable expectation for an investment result? How do we then think about taxes as that may influence it? And we lay that out and we say, this is the intentionality, so that when you watch money leave your account and go to this other place, you have strong understanding of the intention behind moving that money. And that keeps your motivation strong. That's that cycle of positive momentum where I see it, it's growing, I know why it's there, I know who it's for, and that intentionality gives people the strength to build upon them. And I talk about we want to start with dreaming with clients of their future. Then we want to put in place the right suggestions and recommendations, that implementing those suggestions. And then as we build confidence that those intentional changes to your behavior are working and they're making progress, then we get to rediscover, we get to redream about what is possible now. And those are so fun. It's so enriching to watch people experience success and they go, wow, I built a habit that worked. I can see how this is 2023, or in this case, if we look backwards at 2022 goals are getting accomplished. Let's think of how I can do more for 2023. And that's that little habit, tiny habit, build with intention, create that cycle of positive momentum. And then things like boring stuff, kind of like saving an emergency fund and doing the education account and put money in your retirement plan. So when you're so old and gray, you're pretty sure you won't care anymore about having money. You'll actually have some, because I promise that future you is going to have all the same wants and desires as current you. It doesn't change. So but creating that intentional plan and roadmap is how we can facilitate and catalyze people staying focused on those goals through the ups and downs of a year.
We are wrapping up this edition of Money Talk here on Atlanta News First Plus, digital streaming desk with Justin Neal, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual. Justin, final thoughts. Share with us one bit of an observation, a piece of advice that our listeners can take home, think about, ponder over, and maybe even propel them to employ better, more responsible financial habits. We know the economy is always up and down. There are always recessions, upticks and downticks, upticks in employment, interest rates, lending rates. What is one bit of advice or counsel that you can offer our viewers and listeners?
I think in a season of the year like this one, it has been a challenging time in 2022. We've had lots of reasons to believe that the world is a difficult place. But I want to fight the seduction of pessimism. And one way to do that our family really enjoys, is think about a charitable something, and whatever that is for you that's meaningful, and use that as a way for your family to reflect on where you're blessed, where you're thankful. We're so fortunate that we get to live in our country, that we get to do the things we do professionally and for fun. And even in the midst of very challenging, difficult times, our family finds that reminding ourselves of where we are and making that part of our habit and ritual in this season is inspirational and motivational, as we then focus in on what do we need to do for our family, but it's in the context of how thankful and appreciative and grateful we are that we have the blessings we've got as a family. So I know that's not interest rates or market related.
No,
but that helps me focus through all that stuff, right?
Well, for someone like myself who's very bad at math and very bad at keeping an account, thankfully I have a wonderful spouse who handles that kind of details for me and for us, and just talking about future savings, but tying money management into behaviors and beliefs and personal values is certainly a different way then we can perhaps motivate ourselves to be more responsible. So that's a wonderful thought you shared with us, a perfect way to end this edition of Money Talk here on Atlanta News First Plus digital streaming desk. On behalf of Justin Neal, Wealth Management Advisor in Northwestern Mutual, all of us here at Atlanta News First, thanks for watching. Have a safe and wonderful 2023.